What's going on, everybody? Danny the Bull here with Russell, founder of one of my favorite Web3 gaming projects. If you follow the channel, you know that I talk about them a lot. Mcade on the channel for the second time. I want to welcome you and thank you for coming back to sit and talk with us.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Danny. It's been a while, hasn't it? But we've been talking backwards and forwards over the last few months, so it's great to come back on the channel and update everyone on what's been going on. Because a lot has changed and there's a lot coming as well. So nice to not be sitting in the host seat and sit back and take some questions today.
Yeah, and I was thinking back to that first interview, and a lot has gone on, a lot has changed since that interview, which was just maybe, I don't know, was it 2 months ago or so? It wasn't all that long ago, but in crypto, that feels like years ago.
Yeah, it's definitely, we apply the crypto dog years to this, and yeah, it feels like it was about 6 months ago, but you're probably right. It's like 2 to 3 months ago, I think now. But yeah, a lot has changed, and a lot continues to change. That's for sure.
Yeah, so really looking forward to digging in and talking about everything that's gone on and everything that's going to go on. And if people in the chat have some questions, perhaps we'll get to them towards the end. I definitely encourage people to ask away. But one of the first things I want to talk about is your migration to Base Network. On-chain summer, and what that's been like, and what you anticipate, being a part of this, new network.
Yeah, so we obviously started our migration process for, again, trying to track time in this industry is impossible, but it's probably about 2 months ago. Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have a technical team that are very close to the Optimism team. They've done a number of hackathons. They have worked closely with the internal official team for migration. And yeah, the process was pretty seamless in the end. And the experience we had with them was great, so much so we've had a lot of projects reach out to us. And we're more than likely going to be offering kind of migration services in our technical side of the business to projects that want to come and move on to Base, because I think it's going to be, if not the leading L2, it's definitely going to be in the top 2 this year. And the on-chain users that are growing each day are proof of that. Yeah, our strategy for Base, it was very well thought through by the entire team. And obviously, we have mutual projects and teams that we know that are on Base as well. And the experience so far has been great. But I also think Base have got a very compelling story, and there's a reason why we're there. So yeah, nice to be able to transact on Mcade with minimal gas fees. I mean, it's it feels like that heavyweight jacket's been lifted, and it's a lot more cost effective to enjoy it now.
Yeah, especially coming from Ethereum, that was definitely a barrier to entry there. And now you're in this, you're in this place where I feel like a bunch of people are building together at the beginning, at the inception of a new network. Do you feel a camaraderie there, and a community early on in this evolution?
Yeah, it's definitely because we're catching it at that kind of inception or inflection point. Users are going up every day. Coinbase have made their commitment crystal clear, along with the smart wallet. The smart wallet is game changing in terms of their ability. I mean, the work they're doing with USDC, Stripe. In terms of on-ramping, there isn't a network that's comparable. It's the word that everyone hates right now, but it's a patience thing. You can see a load of projects spinning up. You can see a lot of releases, a lot of building, a lot of get-togethers going on. I'm going to be in one in Amsterdam in a couple of weeks' time. Small builder event, kind of private get-togethers that people are starting to do. What's interesting is because the gas levels are so effective, our 2 gaming products, the tournaments and Gangs of Metacadia, have all been sponsored by Base officially now. So they've just made those experiences gasless for us, probably for the rest of the year. And you don't see many chains do that. But for me, their roadmap, their strategy is far more compelling. And for us, we want to be the first brand that people see when retail rolls in. And that's the underlying reason why we're on Base, is because we want that on-ramp to come directly at us. And we don't have the challenges that game projects have. We're a platform, so it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, you're definitely in the right place at the right time, because Base is incentivized to help you guys because they're building themselves up. If you had joined 3 or 4 years from now, when they're already established and they don't need necessarily to help make things as seamless.
Mm.
So it's definitely a good place to be.
Yeah, and they're kind of exploring L3s as well, like DGens on there, and there's a few other projects testing. I think we're going to sit and watch what L3s do on top of base, but that's an interesting concept. I mean, you'd end up using Mcade as your emission tax, and you'd actually just need one token in your wallet to do everything. And I think that's where we end up. So it's going to be very interesting. And yeah, on-chain summer is obviously the big campaign that's going on around what looks like a soft summer. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit quiet, I think. And fortunately, with us, we've got a load of work to do on-chain summer. So
It's exciting. Do you feel like you're uniquely positioned as to be the leading gaming platform on Base Network?
yes, yeah, 100%. The games themselves, the projects are still fairly early stage or fledgling. And the good thing is we obviously weighed up decisions around what our competition does. I don't hold my thoughts. I think you got me all bullish on our last chat around where I expect us to be. I don't see competitors migrating. I don't see a large name, touch wood, coming into the Base ecosystem anytime soon. So it is a genuine opportunity for us to become the face of gaming, the educator, the ability for retail to come in, learn with us, and then obviously explore the wider crypto market. And if they do, there's a good chance they'll get exposure to Mcade along the way. So yeah, we do definitely see ourselves as a front runner, but right now, no one's really aware of us. We're just busy building out that final part of our strategy. So
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you build out brand awareness? And the gaming sector is very cluttered. There are tons, hundreds of projects out there, from individual games to ecosystems, Myria, Naka, and all these other platforms, GameSwift. The list goes on and on. So
mm.
how does Medicaid, stand out in that crowded field?
Yeah, good question. So two things I think we're doubling down on right now. The first one is on-chain summer. Now, for the majority of people, it won't be something you'd have looked into because it doesn't really affect you unless you're a builder or a project. But the purpose of on-chain summer is to spotlight and amplify the projects that are building on Base. So we've got through the first two rounds. It's looking pretty good, I would say. I think if I'm guessing, I think we would be accepted on the spotlight for Coinbase. And what that means is a dedicated day during this summer period and into Q4 will be dedicated to promoting your project. So you kind of go from nowhere to somewhere or everywhere. It really depends on what traction you get. And on-chain summer is huge in that sense. And it's the only real organized initiative that chains are doing right now. So that's been very fortunate. And we are proceeding with that process quite nicely. The other way to get noticed in the space and kind of level up in terms of awareness is through the services we're going to be offering our gaming partners. At the moment, gaming platforms, you're right, it's all very cluttered. They have a single utility. Their use case is generally put your game on our platform. If we have a node or some capability of generating yield off the back of it, that's the play we're going to make. And that for me is a single point of failure that could either be highly successful or could collapse the business model, because if you don't get the gamers and you don't get the footfall, your business doesn't work. Put very simply, with us, the MarTech stack, the AI that's being developed internally is very, very quickly gives us a full suite of services that we will start charging our clients for, which are gaming studios. That gives us real revenue, it gives us cash, it gives us the ability to drive buybacks. It allows us to have an effect on the economy and the outcome outside of users coming in and playing a game. We pivoted almost. I think there's a very good chance we might end up becoming probably a front runner in the SaaS market for services to gaming because of what we're building and what we're due to release. And the media quarter is that the early indication of what's coming with that. But the amount of AI sitting behind what we're doing, it's clear that we have three opportunities to get on the roadmap and get on the awareness radar of everyone else. And that's gaming, Base ecosystem. And I think AI is becoming a very feasible route for us to talk about more, because almost 80% of our services are powered by AI and unique tech that only we have. And we're going to see a lot more from the media core to come out in the next 4 to 8 weeks. And I think when people understand what that is, which we will express very clearly, I think that is the single point that everyone's going to go, okay, now I get what Mcade is. And it wasn't in the original plan. So that's the other thing. It's not changing direction. It's not pivoting. We're just fortunate to be able to evolve into these areas and take advantage of them, because people aren't looking at it as a business and a sustainable business model. They're hoping for a run of some description. We've got 3 opportunities to catch wind, and that is gaming, AI, and base. And we want to make sure our content strategy is aligned with those 3 narratives. And if we catch 1, 2, 3 of them, then we will see zeros added to our market cap for sure.
How does a couple of things that a lot was in there to unpack?
Right? Yeah, sorry.
Notes on the side. All right, a lot to unpack there. So let's talk first of all about you said buybacks. So you're talking about buying back Mcade tokens.
Yeah, so we've got tournaments which operates kind of as our consumer pooling model. So the more people enter the tournaments, we'll go on to how we're going to be scaling that up, I'm sure, a bit later. Yeah. So that gives us the ability to accrue Mcade tokens and repurpose them, whether it's into reward pools or for giveaways or to incentivize larger prize pools. So our B2C model is up and running, and it's now starting to take shape. On the back end, which is the B2B model, which is with our game studios and our partners, they'll be paying a monthly subscription to us, and we can use a percentage of that revenue to again drive buyback, because we're quite heavily liquidated, as you pointed out before. There'll be a point where we'll need to do some buybacks to manage the business. So we've kind of got it to that 60-70% liquidation, because we know if things continue to go well and the market catches fire, we're probably going to have to actively buy back to sustain supporting pairs on exchanges and all sorts of activities. So that's where it really comes to life, and it's great saying it, but everyone wants to see it working, right? So we're getting there as quickly as we can, but it's not a small business to build. It's quite comprehensive when you get under the hood of it,
and a lot of moving parts.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, I would say in my career, the first time, a team that I fully trust in all areas, and really I've kind of stepped away from it and allowed them, because they're best in class. And they are driving the new roadmaps, the direction, and it's been really good to watch. And it's like I say, it's the first time I feel that I've got a team that can really lead this on with me supporting it, rather than having to come up with a direction all the time. It's a humbling experience, put it that way.
That's also good leadership, is knowing, to trust your team members and knowing who has expertise in what area, and allowing them to, flourish and execute.
Yeah, and it's I'm no disrespect to the previous teams and businesses I've worked in, but I feel like there's so many people in our business now that have a much better understanding of like gaming or AI or anything that we're rolling out. For me, it's making sure that people are motivated, we're structured, we're delivering on point. I'm very much the facilitator now, whereas in the early stages, I was building a team, driving it through its first stage. My role itself has changed significantly, and I'm doing a lot more kind of interviews, podcasts, getting the name out there. I like to talk, as you know, so for me, it's a great job to have. But we still got a lot of releases to ship in the next 8 to 10 weeks, and we're on point to deliver all of that. And this quieter summer, I think, has also helped a little bit for us as well. We might be in panic stations in some areas if the market had really kicked on earlier than expected. But I think things are aligning for us, and I think the patience will be well rewarded.
How has your team grown since early days?
You kind of start when you build these businesses, you have like a development partner, or you decide to go down a CTO internal route. In the technical side of things now, we've got back-to-back hackathon winners. Like in terms of technical caliber, I would challenge anyone to say they've got better now, and we didn't have that 6 months ago. So from a technical point of view, Gangs of Metacadia was never in the plan. And I'll always just speak really honestly about it until Quicks came to me and said, do you like game theory? Do you like strategy? I was like, absolutely. He said, I've kind of built this thing. You should take a look at it. And then it spun up from there. And I think it will be one of the leading products that bring people to Mcade. And it goes into testing next week with a private group of about 35, 40 testers, I think. So that's pretty great, and that's a sponsored base gasless experience. So it'll be our first game that we've produced internally ourselves, and but that's because of the caliber of the people that are now in the business. On the marketing side, we've got Ellie, Josh, Chris. We actually have a publicist as well. So it's matured quickly, and everyone, I would say, is at the top of their game. And as a result, I'm less active in the group, so I'm more kind of piecing this puzzle together. Because there's still a lot of work to do to make Mcade easily explainable to the open market and get that acceptance that you talk about. But yeah, everywhere I look, the standards have grown, and you go through that kind of shedding of a cycle, like the skin losing its skin, snake losing its skin. Every project that sprints through startup probably goes through 3 or 4 iterations of the team changing to get to where they're happy. And I feel for the first time we've got that team. So yeah, I'm a lot calmer as a result of it as well, which is a nice thing in the stressful world of crypto.
Yeah, especially in this type of environment and market, when things are picking up.
Yeah.
But you mentioned AI. How is it integrated, incorporated within Mcade?
Yeah, so we've got 2 partners, which we're going to do a lot more publicly soon. That's PAL AI, which I know you follow the AI narrative pretty closely. Yeah. So we deployed some of their bot technology into the groups. We've got a widget being built for the site. We have a character called Max who will operate as the guide around Mcade. There's also some things being built behind the scenes, which will effectively take the community experience to a different level. That's a bit vague, but that's all I can say on that front. But the biggest use of AI we have, and that sits behind our media quarter. So if you look at anything content marketing related, we've been working very hard with an exclusive partner. So this partner only will work with us in the Web3 gaming space, and that's Brand Ninja. Sam, the founder, we've been building a tech stack. It's like an AI workforce, which basically means a studio can plug in to our platform and they can say, right, I want to write a content piece on this. I've just done a video on X, and the repurposing of the assets into a marketing strategy and then the automation of delivery in line with their brand guidelines is achievable. So it allows smaller, maybe lower budget businesses to acquire a marketing department to build their own awareness, their token visibility, their beta game coming up. And it's a service which we can really get down to a really affordable price because of the AI capability. So the fundamental difference between us and other platforms is that we'll be offering marketing as a service to our customers as well as using it ourselves. And that will allow a lot of studios and game small startups to be able to start that marketing process and build community and awareness a lot earlier in their life cycle for a lot less than they currently spend in the market, because marketing is incredibly expensive in this space. But our goal is to make it incredibly affordable, and we've already done one of the 2 deals that we wanted to do to make that possible. So the B2B side it'll be the key differentiator of what Mcade is compared to everyone else, and that is we can literally plug businesses in and get them self-marketing through the AI workforce for probably 1/10 of the price, and that's going to attract and you can only use that tech if you come to Mcade. That's the exclusivity of the deal. So yeah, it's pretty big, but it's so big we're having to piece it all together and get clients on board to test it, but it's working. It's already live internally. We're just ready to make a decision on price and start upgrading our clients to it. So it'll be a big shift for us.
Is there any other gaming platform that's doing what you're doing? Like, what in terms, like, not who would you consider your competition? Naka?
Yeah, I think initially, I mean, it seems like I've got a Naka on a dartboard in the office. I have. But the more I look at it, it's a question that was asked by our marketing team last week. What our initial competition is changing. I would say, if anything, we're probably going to be the more trusted marketing partner to studios. So it's going to be you'll be able to list your game, build your studio page, do exactly what you see already, but we'll be able to actually deliver player network services into you, social media, PR and content marketing, like the full stack. And that'll be the fundamental difference with us. I think we probably end up more in that kind of games GG category, where they're incredibly good at education. They're really good at guide content. Their SEO is spot on. Million users a month. Like, they are killing it from a marketing rinse and repeat model. Like, for me, they're the content leaders in the space, and they're the ones that we would say we're probably slightly heading towards competing with. But we obviously have our own gaming products and a consumer front end to our business. But I think we're coming more away from that platform category and more into SaaS services, AI, gaming. I think we end up in our own channel at some point, which is kind of this we call it the swimming channel, which is where we kind of have fringe competition, but we do have a pretty unique offering, which if the second deal is done early part of next week, then you have to come to Mcade to get these services, because the exclusivity in the deals means that all of gaming has to come to us. And that's the exciting part that's coming. And we're close to completing all of that. But yeah, we're serious about turning this into a sustainable business. And as a result, you need to offer real services for real money and allow the token to peg and connect to that to make it all work. And that's where I think we'll actually end up in our own kind of category to an extent. But I love what Games GG are doing. I think on the platform side of things, I'm not overly excited about anything else, just purely because I think if you're going down a use case which requires usage, that's a tough gig to achieve in a cluttered market. But I still think these things will run hard. I mean, that's the irony of it, is it doesn't really matter in some cases if it looks good and people people can absorb the idea of it quickly. Then sometimes that's enough. So we're also aware of that. We're not trying to be too clever here, but we want both. We want the narrative and we want the sustainable business as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about the narrative in a minute. Mr. Ridiculous here. So just to clarify, what does this mean for games that are on multiple platforms? Will you force them to use Mcade exclusively?
Good question. One of our testers, I think, as well in our Discord. In terms of using us, if they're using our business-to-business services, they would just need to pay in crypto or Mcade to service the subscription of that service. So we wouldn't have to bring them on base. We wouldn't have to move their economy on. There's too much friction involved in that. So we're based on base for a reason. It's the retail inbound. It's the ability to become a brand to the wider audience and educate them on gaming across all the ecosystems. All of our clients will be on different chains. They will continue to do so. Ronin's catching a bit of fire at the moment, and I think a lot will sit there. I think AVAX hasn't had its day in the sun yet from a gaming point of view, and that's coming. So I think we'll still be a multi-chain environment, but I think the cross-chain interoperability is getting much better. And as a result, by the time all of this comes together, you can come and buy your services from Mcade in any other way you would. It's a transaction at the end of the day, but they don't need to be chain dependent. However, we can list tokens on other chains in our tournaments and Gangs of Metacadia. That's already built.
So, yeah, I'm gonna write that down. I have a lot that I'm trying to sort through here.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the software as a service, right? The SaaS. What does that, incorporate specifically?
So our AI workforce, which is through our exclusive partnership with Brand Ninja, will allow all of your social media across X, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, etc., to be driven by this marketing team. So you have your own environment, you upload your assets, it will give you the ability to create any type of media that you wish. And once you approve it, you can schedule it and you can get it out into the market. So that model will allow people on X amount a month to access effectively what would be their social media marketing team. We would wrap in POW AI in there as well. We have a deal with POW, where if they want to build out that community tier, they can do it through a much better price point with us, because POW see us as a big aggregator of lots of projects, and as a result, we could probably sign a lot of customers to POW. So that's a good deal. So we've got the community tier, we've got the social media tier, and you can also produce PR and content, articles, long form, short form, video, all through the AI as well. So in theory, a small dev team could be out marketing every day without having a marketing team. And as the AI gets better, the experience gets better. And it's a lot of what, from the customer feedback, the devs just want to build games. They want to build great products. They don't know what to do about listings, marketing, who should they trust, who they shouldn't trust. And the underlying thing here is we will do all these things first, and if we fail at it, we'll tell our partners and say, look, we tried this, it didn't work, don't do it, don't waste your money. Or if you're listing with a certain exchange and we have a bad experience, whatever it might be, we're spending a lot more time with projects that are all doing this for the first time, but they just want a trusted outlet that says, okay, these guys have tried it, it's succeeded, this is what they paid. Like, this is where the meat and the bones really kick in, is that we can guide studios and up and coming gaming projects through some of these challenges in a kind of consultative way, but provide the day-to-day services that they need to grow. And I don't think anyone's doing that in the space. So you've got Neo Tokyo, which is very expensive to get into, and there's loads of alpha and loads of value there, but someone can't just walk off the street and get into Neo Tokyo. We want to become that kind of open door environment for projects that are looking. The question we're posing internally is, if you're thinking about doing something, just ask us. That's now we've got a lot of inbound questions as a result, but what it's telling us is what the market needs, and they want advice. They want to double check if they're about to spend 10 grand on something, should they do it? But we want to provide services which are really affordable, to ensure that the whole industry succeeds. But no one's actually plugged into really good services. And I think there's a couple of partners now that are proving that the market is ready for a SaaS model. But a majority of it will be powered by AI.
Nice. How many partners are you up to now?
79. I've just had a go at Dennis for not getting to 80.
He's slacking.
He's slacking, yeah. I mean, he was doing 4 a week, and then he went down to 2 or something, and I was like, what's going on, man?
You gotta crack the
whip. Yeah. And I think also by doing that, it's almost allowed us to really learn and understand what the market needs. Because when you've got 70 plus participants that are happy with their studio page and their game listing, it's like, that's great, but it can't really end there. And we realized that quite quickly. It's like, that's great, but it's not really a business, and it's not helping them in a huge way unless we really double down on services. And now we're talking to them. They all of our clients have helped us shape the services we're about to release. So that's been like almost our own market research phase for the last 6 months. And they've been pretty clear about what they're prepared to pay for, what they're not prepared to pay for, what they need, what they have no idea they need, all of the things that up and coming businesses struggle with. So that's been really interesting. And I think it will be the cornerstone of what we do moving forward.
What percentage of those 79 would you say are interested in those SaaS, services?
Well, the SaaS model will be very affordable. So we fully expect from the conversations we had, we'll convert over half fairly quickly.
Nice.
There'll be some that just have got their own setup, or maybe they're more established and they see this as a conflict with the teams they currently have. So you always get a percentage of that. But we've set a metric to close half in the first quarter of us being live with the services. That alone will turn us into a break-even / profitable company before the market kicks in. Projects rely on token treasury and the ability to drive price appreciation to generate internal sustainability. We won't need that. So that's the goal here, is to have something that lives and breathes outside of the fun we have in this market sometimes when German governments and all sorts of things decide to go to market and do a bit of selling. So
keep their bags.
yeah, exactly. So I
So
appreciate there's loads going on. I know there's so much to unpack here, but
there's a lot.
this is
Yeah. So, all right, real world revenue. So you're going to have
Mhm.
real world revenue. So I guess conversely, oftentimes many crypto projects use the crypto side of things to fund everything.
Mm.
Obviously, I'm sure you guys do that as well, but now you have this real world revenue that can also do the buybacks and
Yeah.
push the token price.
Yeah. I mean, it means if your token goes 10x or down 90% or whatever, it's the business continues as is, and that has always been the goal from day one, is to prove that the market and that a business like this is ready to exist in the space. And it's not to negate the importance of the token. The token comes to life far quicker with the ability to affect it or peg it to your actual real money economy. And I was had a really great podcast with a game, Mystic Games, yesterday. It will come out next week, and immediately they're the first. I mean, these guys are ones to watch 100%, but they're from the Rovio, Angry Birds studios. They've done it all, and the first thing they did was put a free-to-play game up and put ads in it, and they're already generating real revenues, and their token comes out in a few weeks' time. That there's a wave of very smart people coming in with a money first focus, and that the industry absolutely needs to go through that phase at some point, and I think it might be starting, because already they're generating income, and that there's less pressure on them. It's not just VC led all the time.
Yeah, it's important. And to be sustainable, that's important. We talked about the narrative, the gaming narrative. Are you still a full-fledged believer that this gaming narrative is going to be one of the leading narratives of this crypto cycle alongside AI, RWA?
Um, yeah, I think there's a queue, and I think there will be an order of events, as we would typically see with any kind of waterfall that we've seen in the previous cycles. I'm not buying the whole it's going to take one AAA game to solve the industry's problems. I talked about it yesterday on this podcast. I actually think the route to adoption, the narrative catching fire in gaming, is more than likely going to happen with free to play hyper casual tier, where you can a semi-skilled, easy skill. I mean, tons providing an obvious opportunity for Telegram games. I think we'll see a load of adoption come through the Ton network, and that will be through very simple, repetitive, lower level games, but to reach high volume audiences. I think it's a little bit dramatic to think that one AAA game is going to bring in tens of millions of people to solve everyone else's business model. I just think that's a bit too risky. And I do think that gaming will sit in that RWA AI piece, and I think they'll run hard at a similar moment. But I don't think it's going to be triggered by what people think it's going to be triggered by. I think base will have a lot to do with it. I think if they onboard what they're suggesting they are going to onboard in their roadmap, and their strategy, which is clearly a committed strategy to add millions to the market, then really we're going to acquire a load of token holders through the retail on-ramp. That for me, base is a wave, gaming is a wave, and AI is a wave. And we've seen how chains can run hard. Solana's an example, tons of a prime example more recently of coming from nowhere and taking billions out the market.
Yeah,
I
they're a
think
top
base,
10 coin now.
yeah, it's incredible and still not really just talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And but they just did something beautiful and genius, in my opinion. That is, they found the largest economy and built a layer, and they decided that they're going to integrate any waking moment across Telegram, and they've basically bridged an entire ecosystem into their Ton network, and it's brilliant. And sometimes that one big idea is all you need, and but their proof adoption's there. But that whole ecosystem would be driven by casual gaming, and I think that might have some fringe benefit to the industry. But I still think those three narratives that you mentioned are the three that will run significantly at the right time. It's just, when does that happen? And I think it's towards Q4 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thinking as well. I think that, the overall market will start to recover maybe, this summer. Bitcoin will lead the way, obviously, And then, come fall, I think that these things really get moving and it gets fun.
Yeah, and I think the one thing we're not going to make the mistake of is not being ready for that. We feel like this is our final sprint now. This quarter has been given to us to finish and finalize and launch and get ready, because we want to be in the shop window when Base opens its doors, and when those doors open. The interesting thing as well is I don't foresee a token being launched on that chain in this window, which means that all the liquidity coming in are going to go into project tokens. That's interesting. Like, whereas with Solana, everyone buys Sol, it grows ton, they buy ton. Base doesn't have that.
Right. They don't have their own native token.
So the liquidity is going to be deployed directly into projects and not to the chain token. And that could amplify the memes, the games, the DeFi projects. It could really catch light, I think, if it's done correctly. And I haven't seen Coinbase do too much wrong. So
No,
in that sense, I'm sure they're very competent at bringing in lots of people for us.
It is the retail on-ramp, and I definitely think you guys are in the right place at the right time. How big do you expect Base to grow, like in terms of numbers of users? Do you think that they'll hit? I think, did they say they wanted to onboard 1 billion?
Yeah, and I think that's more realistic than a AAA game achieving that, which seems to be I wouldn't say it's turning into a meme in gaming, but it's certainly at the events I've been to and the founders I speak to, we're kind of like tongue in cheek. It's like, yeah, that'd be nice, but there's probably 2 or 3 games that might achieve that. But if I go back to like a Mystic Games, who I spoke to Matt Buxton yesterday on a podcast, they've literally been, they're very early stage, but they're achieving 3,000 users a day on their game already, and they're going to have 4 games. They're going to have a very smart ecosystem, brilliant sustainability model for their token. But this guy was just came in from a Web 2 focus and went, this is how the commercial model should work in here. And I think they're on Immutable or Polygon. I think they're going to be on, but I think whatever the chain is, the interoperability will be solved in the next 2 or 3 months, and people are just going to flow from chain to chain. The Coinbase Smart Wallet takes care of a lot of that as well. So, and I don't see Binance or any of the other leading exchanges adopting a clear roadmap or strategy for onboarding. I think Coinbase are unique in that sense, and that's why I think you're right. I think we're in the right place, and that's the reason why we did it, is because we're not a game. We need holders, we need participants. So why not be the biggest on Base as soon as we possibly can be? Because if we catch any element of that wave, and we're available in the Coinbase app, it's like having a listing, because the on-ramp is there. And if we do a good job and we prove our credibility, then Coinbase do come and say, maybe we'll look at you for a further listing on our application, on our app. And if that happens, then happy days. But it's not something you knock on the door and ask for.
Yeah. Do you think it's harder to get listed on Coinbase now with the regulatory? There's still a regulatory cloud hanging over, even though I think things seem to be easing. I just saw the SEC dropped one of their lawsuits an hour ago.
Yeah, and against Paxos.
Yeah, and the CFTC yesterday came out and said that 70-80% of they consider 70-80% of crypto as commodities. So it seems to be loosening up a little, and obviously there's the election coming up in November in America. But do you think it's harder getting listed on Coinbase in this environment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've seen, I'm trying to think, it was what was you saw, I think Portal was either Binance or Coinbase from the start. I mean, my opinion is you either have to know someone or you have to go in with an offer which is 7 figures, heavy 7 figures to get that. That's the cost model that no one ever sees. I started posting a few tweets from some really good accounts on X, like Vader and Andrew Forte. They're doing deep dives into cost effectiveness around listings and TGEs and stuff. There's some really good data coming out now, and these things cost millions to do. But Coinbase also will reach out if they see something scalable, credible, from what I understand, and say, look, let's take a look at you. Let's do our due diligence. Let's make sure there's no ghosts in the closet. And if all is good, we'll consider you for a listing. And I think they've done that. They've done it on more than one occasion, but you don't see tokens listed on Coinbase very often.
No, you
And I
don't.
don't think, and they're certainly not active in pursuing it whilst they've been tackling their challenges elsewhere as well.
Right, 100%.
But I'd
Right.
say Kraken's one to watch. I think Kraken's got some plans that they seem to have fended off everything
Yeah.
over the years. And, I don't know if it's the elephant logo or what, but they just seem to just keep taking it and keep moving forward. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Coinbase and Kraken lead the market in some form shortly. I just feel that they're more regulatory aligned, and they've been stress tested enough for larger economies to take them on and not have any issues with regulation. So yeah, I think there's a few things like that will go our way, and if they do, it will just speed things up and amplify things for all of us involved. But again, you can't really base your business model on the ifs, the buts, and the maybes. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some really solid moves towards a much wider market and more regulation, and that can only be good for us.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, you don't necessarily. It's not as important now to get listed on Coinbase when you have the Coinbase, the base wallet, and the smart wallet. It's much easier to transact on there. My nephew, who never buys crypto, I was able to walk him through doing a swap of a couple of tokens, and it was fairly easy. Back last cycle, that's like a 2-hour process, right? To get to buy like an altcoin, got to set up the wallet, write down everything, and
then they disappear.
Yeah.
And you literally have the worst panic attacks you've ever had. You didn't realize you're anxious until you got into crypto. But the experience, I mean, I keep going on about it. It's not because I'm a base lover emphatically, but that you can't deny that the smart wallet is. I thought Phantom was the best UI UX as a wallet. This smart wallet does so much more, and it's going to, more importantly, it's built in a way which will facilitate a lot more participants into the listed projects in there. So you're right, it's absolutely like having a listing. And I think when that big domino falls, people will see what we've been going on about. And we've built all of our gaming products with the smart wallet all ready to go, knowing full well that that's going to be the route.
Yeah, and I played one of the tournaments, Neon Jet. I was in the top. I was number 3 for a while.
I know you got squeezed out, didn't you?
I got knocked out the top 5. I was so upset. I got knocked out the top 5. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very easy onboarding. Connecting your wallet was seamless. Like you said, gasless. Fees. A lot of fun. How are the tournaments progressing? What's that been like? Are you seeing more people participate?
Yeah, so we spun the tournaments up, must be 3 months now, probably maybe into its 4th month. The 3 original games were provided and customized by Meta Studios, one of our earliest partners, if not our first partner. So shout out to Carlos for getting those games ready for us. But we're in the process now of making final decisions on our game launchpad, which will then increase the amount of games. That could be independent developers putting their games forward. We're going to look at doing a hackathon around it as well. So we're going to be building out the game library on the tournament side. But at the end of the day, you want more users, you want more participants, and that's why we did a deal with KGen. So KGen with a K are effectively a player network. I think they're the 2nd largest player network now in the space. I think they broke like 2 million unique users. We're just in the process of designing the campaign, the assets, but their model is pretty great. They will go out through a huge KOL influencer network, and this is focused on the Brazilian market because if anyone knows anything about the Brazilian gaming market, it's a communicative market, so people get together online and play together, so it's ideal for tournaments. Similar with Asia, and certainly if you look at pockets around Korea, Vietnam, it's very much community-based gaming. And for us, tournaments sit perfectly in that trend. So we're going to be doing a 4 to 6 week campaign with KGen in Brazil, where there'll be, I think, up to 12 influencers online doing nothing but promoting Mcade, the games. We'll probably do it if it works, which I'm sure it will. They've done it for all the top titles in the industry, and they continue to use KGen. So they're definitely the best at what they do. We'll probably use that for games of Metacadia to increase the size of the gangs when it's ready. And player networks will be a huge part of our onboarding strategy. So people look at KOLs, influencers, how do you get market acceptance? How do you get more people to come in? Player network partners are actually a huge part of it. And we start that process last week. Assets are getting signed off next week. I'd imagine, what does that put us? Probably third week of July, you'll start seeing public activity around Mcade and KGen and all these influencers talking about the tournaments. So it's our first step into that world. It'd be interesting to look at the data and see how that performs.
Do you have a target of on the data of like what you aspire to in terms of participation in the future?
Yeah, so at the moment we've got probably early thousands in terms of active accounts that are attached to the tournament application. So I think it varies between 2,000 and 2,500 that we've got at the moment. I would expect us with the KGen campaign to head towards 10,000. And if you think that Mcade has 10,500 holders in general, what I'm suggesting is we're probably going to double holder size, which won't be a bad thing. Being it gasless, being it cost effective to enter, we would expect that to be the first real litmus test of how high can we push this. Obviously with new games, larger prize pools, you'll be drawing a much bigger, a more probably qualified crowd. We've got a couple of players there that are literally probably just treating our tournaments as passive income right now, and we know
You got
who
to
they
keep
are.
those guys out, man. Maybe
I
like
know.
a noob, tournament. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I see them in the groups. I don't know them personally. I think someone thought they were my friends or something. But I was like, they're winning. But what they are doing is they're public. They just buy Mcade. If they're not winning Mcade and they won ETH before, they were just using that to buy Mcade anyway. So
They're stacking.
Yeah. It's a great way just for us to build a nice bag for the bull run and enjoy playing the game. So
you're stacking my Mcade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're literally taking us all for the cleaners at the moment. So I think in the next, probably got 2 weeks left, and then I think a whole new wave of gamers come in, and suddenly the whole dynamic changes on that one. But for us, it'll be great to see. It'll also be great to see how the prize pools become self-sustainable as well. Like the idea is that obviously a percentage of the entries go to building the prize pool. We're subsidizing it at the moment a bit, but for that to become completely sustainable and for us not to have to put in, just gives us the ability to buy back and use those tokens for other things. So yeah, lots resting on it, but I think new games, ensuring that we get a good mobile experience moving as well will be key. We have a particular strategy that is taking a little bit longer, but I think we've got the right one, and mobile will definitely be coming to the tournament side of things, but probably more in a free-to-play kind of we call it a companion structure, which is just allows people to build up credits through mobile use and then cash them in on the desktop tournaments later on. It seems like a far better frictionless way of building mobile users up. So yeah, lots to do on that side, but it started well. But the market isn't super busy, so we weren't expecting hundreds of thousands. But it works, it's easy, there's some improvements to be made to the UX, but we're building in public, so there's always going to be improvements to be made.
Yeah, and I thought it was seamless in terms of wallet integration and just getting my Mcade on there to play. I saw that you guys went from monthly to weekly. Right now you have the weekly stuff.
Yeah, we do weekly and monthly, and depending on what feedback looks like, we may do shorter 24-hour turnarounds. The good thing with that is, and this is where when you build in public, I mean, there's so much we've realised isn't public domain, i.e., like the white paper needs a complete overhaul, which each quarter of the city is pretty much going to have its own roadmap, strategy, white paper, because there are many businesses within this ecosystem, and they deserve to be clearly explained properly. But the tech stack we've got there, we can list other tokens on there with ease. We can plug in other EVM chains within a couple of days. Like, we've got a lot of ability to build out that tournament area into something quite comprehensive, and for people to use the tokens they have in their wallets to could be a Chuck, could be another meme project, it could be a DeFi project. We can list that token and people can use that token to enter tournaments. And
Right. So
that
is it possible for like a community like the Chuck community or whatever it is to say we want to host this tournament with our community members using our token in Medicaid for this during this time period?
Yeah, yeah, and it would take us 24 hours to do. Like
Wow.
that's what this is why we're stealth, and it's frustrating for community because we want to shout from the rooftops about everything we've got, but we are getting there, and we are going to time this well. But yeah, within a day, 2 days max, we could mobilize an entire community to use their token on base on our platform, playing the games you see today.
Yeah.
It's been built. It's been built to scale in exactly that manner. So, KGen will give us an idea of adoption, users, good feedback loops. I expect like 10,000 people to go through that mix, and then we'll see what we're left with. And then I think at that point we'll start opening up the token listing capability, add new games, and start building that out as our true consumer front end. Because Gangs of Metacadia in probably 3 to 4 weeks will be ready for public launch as well, which is pretty awesome. And there's tons of potential there as well.
Yep.
So yeah, I didn't expect to have two clear gaming products internally at the beginning, but
Yeah.
here we are.
Well, it's great, and that's evolution, and that's evolving, and in real time, because you never really know where things are going to take you until you start doing it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's been one of the hardest things. Is as we joked about at the beginning, is the white paper isn't the holy grail of success. It's the guiding light, but it's there to be changed and improved upon. And what business has built and scaled successfully within a 12 to 15-month period, we're right on track. Our plans become bigger than we expected, but we're not going to miss the market. And more importantly, we'll have revenue services in place as well. So yeah, it'd be an interesting one to look back on, I think, in a couple of years, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you plan to take advantage of this market, and you're ready to, I guess, pivot if necessary if the market heats up earlier than expected. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tech stacks are due for like completion. So in terms of us being able to deploy everything across the quarters, if we needed to move quicker, we're in the last few weeks of that now. So unless the market spins up tomorrow and we completely get caught with our pants around our ankles, as we say, we're still in a pretty good position. I feel like we need to unify the way we're viewed. I've done a kind of spot check, a gap analysis on the business. I can see that there's a little bit of disconnect. We need those quarters to pull together. There's still some fine tuning to do, but these are things that can be done quickly. We're not building a blockchain. We're not have a 6-month technical roadmap that is purely reliant on our utility working. We're in the final couple of weeks now of having the bulk of this done. So if the market flips quicker, we'll be ready.
Nice. And so 3 to 4 weeks, Gangs of Metacadia. How impactful you think? How excited are you about that launch?
Very. Reason being is we saw what World PvP did. I don't know if you ever looked at it, but it was a number of countries. It was basically the world. You could join a country. Each country had its own trading pair, which was an interesting one. It didn't, in my opinion, didn't quite work out as a bold move, but it was a good like first go. But millions ran into this game, and you see every day on X like North Korea blows up, nukes the US or England or whatever, and it got us thinking around game theory. Quicks, who's our kind of lead developer, CTO, effectively said, "Oh, I can build that," and his ability with AI prototype development is unchallenged. And he spun up Gangs of Metacadia. Said, "Look, our city narrative works. We can have 5 gangs in the city. There's a vault. Each gang has a vault. You can call a gang out to fight. The AI effectively will decide the outcome, and you can strip the liquidity from other gangs. There'll be assets, NFTs that are already being built within the game to level up or boost your abilities. But the underlying tech on it is that every time a block is filled on base, he's built an API that sends like influence points to the gangs, and then the gangs can use it to enhance their reputation in the city, or they can FUD another gang. And you've got live chat, you can go at the other gang, you can talk gang only. It's a really, really smart product, and it will allow people that don't necessarily game or have a high level of skill in gaming and winning those leaderboards to come in and actually be part of a strategy game, which is we want to be the last gang standing. And World PvP was a great first example of what works, what doesn't work, and we took that along with the game theory that we know internally, and have built out what I think looks like a pretty great game and product. And there's a roadmap in itself within that, which I'm sure Quix will push on and evolve over time. But yeah, to say he's excited about it is an understatement.
Nice. I'm excited about that as well. You had talked about in the last AMA that you did on the YouTube channel, being a voice in the and a voice of authority in the space, wanting to be a voice of authority in the space. Who do you currently consider to be a voice of authority in the space?
So you've got Neo Tokyo, which is although it's a closed group, there's incredibly smart people in there, and there's definitely an authority within it. I like what Robbie does at Animoca Brands. There's a few people that speak actively all the time, and I think I have to say the most impressive person I've met, and I keep going back to it, was Matthew Buxton, who is a co-founder at Mystic Games. The podcast will be out next week. Let's see, I'm now plugging my own podcast on your channel, Danny. But his insight and his view on the market was so refreshing. That the podcast went on for ages, but for me, I'll be watching what he says and what he does. And I think, to be brutally honest, when you comes to any decision a project has to make, do we list? The community want X? When do we market? All of these questions are thrown at us as founders every day, and the market needs some level of trust and authority, and that's what the media quarter is the starting point of it. Come and find out what's going on in the space, educate yourselves, reach out to us if you have questions around these key decision areas in your business. Like, it needs it, because we know projects that have gone through some pretty destructive listings recently. They've TG'd their token for the first time, and they've been rugged by the chosen parties they've decided to list with. And there's some absolute horror stories, which I won't go into, but people need someone else to talk to make good commercial decisions and avoid we had some challenges with exchanges before and things like that. Like, this industry will succeed if the people talk more, and being out there. I mean, if you look at anything I've quoted on in the press, I hired a publicist 8 weeks ago to purposely go out and position us in a position of authority. And I've been on Cointelegraph the beginning of this week, Blockchain Gamer Consistency. We've got an article coming up in Mavens. This is all part of that process of establishing a voice and an authority in the space. And again, this is what normal businesses do, but no one knows how to do it. I didn't know what a publicist was. No disrespect to our publicist, he's a genius, but I didn't have a clue what that was until about 12 weeks ago. But now we're getting asked to feature on large content sites, and having a name up with Animoca Brands and being asked for a quote is a nice step forward for us. So yeah, brave new world for me, that's for sure.
Exciting. Are you prepared for it?
Yeah. The more I do it, the more I'm enjoying it. And I realize that you just have to knuckle down and just build what your team is defining and specifying that you should do. And you can't take in everyone's opinion. I tried too hard to try and keep everyone happy, and it's just impossible. And that's where the biggest pressure cooker is in this space, is just wanting to be able to keep community happy, internal teams happy, the market happy. It's just, you just got to crack on and build. And that's the cliche.
How do you balance that? How do you balance that? But that's how you balance it, right? Is just by building and just staying true to your vision and executing.
Yeah. And I've never been this public in businesses before, so the trolling, the messages, honestly, it's like the nearest thing you get to celebrity, I suppose.
Yeah, crypto Twitter is brutal.
Yeah, I feel like I'm part of the Kardashian family sometimes, but but no, it's in that sense, it's been a huge learn. I've had to change quite a bit to manage it, and I think that's just character building at the end of the day. But um, nothing's changed for us. If anything, we were slightly annoyed that we felt this market was going to take a bit longer, but in hindsight, we're going to be more than ready. And
Nice.
I think when the wave hits, and I think there might be 3 waves that we might be able to catch, if we do our jobs properly, then we'll enjoy that bit. It'll be more about enjoying the hard work rather than still working at this pace and this pressure. I mean, the bear market and building is the biggest pressure cooker you're ever going to experience. So I've been told that it's much easier when the markets kick in, but we're yet to actually see it because we've never done it in a bull market. We're waiting for that bit to happen. So yeah, fingers crossed it arrives.
Yeah. Tell us about the podcast and how that's going.
Yeah, so it's called the Mcade Roundtable. We bring on key members, founders, anyone in a senior position within projects, mainly in gaming. Although we had a charity on, the Laughing Otter, last week. That was a great chat. Yeah, the idea is it's to give people an understanding of how on earth do people like us end up in these businesses, running these projects. Like when you look at LinkedIn professional backgrounds, it's like, well, there's no job board for Web3. It's getting there, but you don't go and get a job at Mcade through going to LinkedIn, for example. So
Yeah.
we do a bit on careers, about what everyone's backstories are, how did they get into the projects that they're in. We then go through views on the market. It's kind of unfiltered. So I've learned now that swearing is just a thing that happens when people get passionate. So yeah, the PG version's already gone up to an 18 in the last podcast. And then, yeah, for me, I love it because I learn so much from it, and it helps us internally. It also just gives people an insight into this world does have faces. There are real people, and this is what they do every day. And what still cracks me up is how many people do like 3 or 4 jobs in each of these projects. They might be called a community manager, but they're literally doing 3 other things. Like, it's proper bootstrapping.
Yeah.
But it's a fun environment to be in. Everyone's trying to innovate. Everyone's trying to do their best in the main. And yeah, we just want more people to come on the podcast and give us their thoughts on the space and what to look out for, really. So that's been good fun.
I caught the one with Jamie King, who's now an advisor to
Yeah.
Medicaid. What's it like, having him now as an advisor there for a few months?
Yeah, good. It's interesting. The advisory board we put together, we have primarily who are like really involved day to day. You've got Jamie, Dan. I met Dan for the first time, Dan Hybel, last week in London at the Solana event. Great to meet him face to face. We spend so much time on chat. We've got Ellie, who's over in Australia, who's very much leading our brand positioning and our marketing. So Jamie is really starting to come to life in basically what I've done internally is pod and group people based on their subject matter expertise, and the entertainment quarter is clearly Jamie's bag. So Josh, who's an avid gamer, Jamie, Dan, they're all solid gaming backgrounds. I might not have the most public of gaming backgrounds, but these guys know more than I do. So they're leading the strategy for entertainment. And in that sense, they're now singularly focused on building out that roadmap for that area. So the board itself has kind of been almost put into quarters, and each pod or 2 or 3 experts are leading that strategy and that growth plan. So yeah, I mean, Jamie also is like this Web3 space. We talk about it a lot, and it's like, this is just Wild West, man.
Yeah, he's coming from the traditional gaming market, and people don't know he
Yeah,
was a co-founder of Rockstar Games and um,
yeah,
produced producer on GTA 2.
yeah. And GTA is going to be taking crypto in the new version as well, so that's
Do you think is
progress.
that true? Are they going to be? I've heard rumors of that. Do you think that's true?
Yes, there seems to be enough significant leaks to suggest it's being planned. I'm not sure what the official statement is, but yeah, 2 or 3 cryptos have been identified as currency. But again, his view is very much it will be probably that bridge first, and then the technology will be pulled in. It's still counterintuitive for a lot of these larger gaming businesses to give up ownership and decentralize the assets, but over time it will happen. But for me, his background and his value is obviously large community building, proven track record in the Web2 space. Having Jamie's opinion, and also like your Matthew Buxton's coming into the industry, the more the key players of Web2 come in, the more we're going to learn and adapt quickly. And Dan's hardcore Web3 YGG investment analyst, so he's in with the Axie crowd most days, and his insight is equally as valuable, but on the Web3 side. So we've got this lovely combination going on, and obviously I don't report back to the community much about what the board are doing, because it's right. I spend all my time doing that, but everyone is very active right now, and particularly Ellie, who's been leading our brand's positioning and our authoritative approach to the market. So yeah, it's getting serious.
Do you think an official like news of a GTA crypto integration into GTA 6 would set the gaming narrative on fire?
I think it's a great headline, 100%. And I think it would probably end up triggering some huge shift in the next cycle if we see anything closely related to this. I still believe that we're going to see mass adoption or a trigger in the gaming space through a chain, which I'm hedging is going to be Coinbase, of course, or this hyper casual tier where mobile free to play with the ability to ramp into Web3. I think that's the bridge, and I'm pretty sure I could. I'm pretty sure that those two will be the catalysts. But Chris, our publicist, he checked Google Trends last month. Web3 gaming searches are up like 20x in search data. So people are starting to look. And people used to use Google Trends a lot to establish whether a trend is coming. I would definitely go and check it out, because the trends are starting to tell us a bit of a story that people are starting to become a lot more aware. But that's because the titles and the games coming out are so much better. And I think that wave of mobile hyper casual will onboard more than a AAA making it. I think it's going to be a culmination of things, to be honest.
Yeah. How are we on time? Do you have like another 10 minutes or so? We've been on for a while.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can do 10 minutes, no problems.
Okay. Neo Tokyo, any update on that and joining?
Yeah, so they have a membership, partnership structure now, bronze, silver, and gold. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say on that front, but basically gold means that's the top tier. Only 3 or 4 firms have got that, but it requires a token integration. Borea's on it today, literally from the looks of it. So we're about to resubmit for the top tier. So obviously I'm in there as a project founder. The process itself, there's a council who makes a decision, it votes. But now we have the token integration capability. It gives us the ability to go after that high tier. That requires a pitch deck, a pitch to the wider community. We are in process with that.
Nice.
So it would be only the 5th project or company to achieve that status. But again, this is the thing I'm learning about the space is we can go and achieve that, but if we were then to put that out in the market tomorrow, it would fall on deaf ears because there's the volume of participants aren't there. So we've got lots we've already done, which we're kind of squirreling away for the right time. And it's so hard because I just want to tell everyone what's going on all the time. But yeah, there's enough going on to be really confident about the future, but we don't want to lose value on announcing a huge partnership or a deal that we're doing and it to be watched by 10 people or whatever. So yeah, timing and patience has been the biggest learning curve, particularly when you've got these lulls, because all you want to do is wake up to a green day every day, right? We're all the same.
I love those days.
Yeah, I think I remember them anyway.
That was pre-Rich 2 months ago. Now I'm be working forever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me see what else. Someone had sent me a message about just talk about the staking rewards. How does staking work, Mcade, on the platform?
So the second staking pool's come to conclusion. So if you haven't claimed, go and claim that, and also bridge, please. The other thing on migration is we've got some sleepy ETH holders that.
That's me.
Yeah. So that's been interesting to watch the data on that, but without getting off subject. So we're still wrestling with the idea. Well, obviously, once the reward pools are kicking in, once we got the B2B side going, we do want to incentivize our holders, whether that's through traditional staking pools. It's so difficult to decide because the staking pool for me is fairly straightforward, but it was certainly viewed as complicated by others. Airdrops are seen as you either accept airdrops for what they are, or you don't like them and they feel a bit scammy. Everything has a split narrative. So the honest answer is we are going to be issuing rewards to holders. We just don't know what the chosen mechanism is going to be because it's quite polarizing. Like, I don't know what your view is on if I say airdrop to you, what's your immediate thoughts on that? Like, do you immediately think scammy? I'm more nervous than a staking pool, or
yeah, I tend to. Yeah, that's my initial instinct.
Yeah, and that's kind of the consensus, really. So it might be the case that we attach something to the profile management piece, and it's a simple staking pool, or we distribute in a slightly different way. But the intention fully is not to stop at these first two staking pools. But once we've got that flywheel moving in the business, then we'll incentivize people to hold for sure. And that would be the next phase of, we'll call them reward pools for now, because it allows us to still make a decision on how we're going to airdrops run. Yeah, it seems that way, but then almost every gaming project does an airdrop. So that's why I'm kind of torn on the whole thing. It's like I'm okay either way, but it definitely the staking, the migration, it just causes extra stress for people, and last thing we want is for people to lose their Mcade. So yeah, it's unfortunately it's the problem with the industry still. It's not as secure as it can be.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned that you guys can get the merch store going soon, and did I hear physical arcades?
Yeah, so I've actually got some that are sent over from a warehouse. We've got at the moment about 32 of them. Do you remember when, I don't know if you saw us in the kind of early arcade retro pre-sale stage, but we were giving away arcade machines. We actually bought like 100 or something. And we've still got about 30 something of them left. We've just rebranded them. We have got some OG ones. People who have won them want the old brands for kind of, I suppose, historical purposes. Should we become a big thing later on down the line? But yeah, we've got some mini arcade machines. They're going to go in. We're going to sell some and then do some giveaways for the others. I'm sure we'll be doing something with On-Chain Summer. We have suggested it if we get through, that we'll be issuing arcade machines as part of that On-Chain Summer incentive. So yeah, we've got those. Merch is being, we're definitely going down more of the artistic route with the new merch. So some early designs came in last week, look pretty good. So they'll be ready, I think, for sharing next week. And yeah, I saw on Chuck as well that the merch store's up and running.
Yeah,
I think I'm going hoodie.
you got to do it. Or you know what, the denim jacket. There's now a denim Chuck jacket.
I don't know if I could carry off a denim jacket.
I think you can, my friend. I think don't underestimate yourself. You absolutely can.
I get enough abuse as it is, I think. But yeah, if chuck to $1, and then I'll get the denim jacket out for sure. But
let's go.
But yeah, so the merch store is, I mean, e-commerce in general is a great opportunity in this industry when it's busy, and yeah, we know from the kind of pre-sale and talking to other projects, like they actually turned really good profits, which were then invested in further development. It's a good revenue arm to the business if it's good and it's high quality. The only problem with merch stores and other projects is I've ordered quite a lot. I'm literally wearing this. I've got 10 versions of this I wear every day, and this has lasted. The other stuff I bought from other projects, which I won't name, don't last very long. And you're still paying $40 for a t-shirt. It's crazy.
Yeah, I got to get me one of those arcades. It'll go dope. It'll be very nice fit in my man cave.
Yeah, it would actually. I think I'm sure there's something we can do on that. It would be great to see it in the background actually
Yeah,
on your lives.
100%. Well, I think one more question here before we go is, how will the rewards work in future now that staking pools have stopped?
Yeah, so as covered in the previous point, it's the mechanism. We definitely want to incentivize and reward community based on our business activities, our prize pools, our subscriptions. It's just deciding. I fully expect us just to spin up another staking pool, I'm sure, and just trust in the fact that people really, I mean, know what to do, and it just stays in the right place and it doesn't move. I think that we've complicated things by moving the sites around as we've been developing, but that can stop now. So, yep, the rewards will come. It'll be based on business performance and economy performance. So it won't be a fixed APY unless we do a big solid buyback or something like that at some point. So, yeah, it'll be flexible. It'll be jump in, jump out, no lock-up periods.
Nice.
I've said from day one, I don't want people locked up during the fun times without encouraging selling pressure. Everyone who's been with us from the start deserves to be liquid and fluid at the right time. That's the whole point. So yeah, we wouldn't be doing any locked staking pools. It would be in and out, and you get what you accrue, and that's that.
Nice, very nice. I want to thank you for coming on. We were on for about an hour and 20 minutes. I feel like we could go on for another hour and 20 minutes, but I know that you're a very busy man. And congratulations on England going to the Euro Cup
Yeah,
finals.
yeah.
Let's go.
My
I was rooting
voice
for
is a
them,
bit
I'm
rough.
not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I was sort of half expecting to wake up to a mass sell-off because we have a very strong Dutch contingent at Mcade, and I was like, here we go. I don't even want to look for a red candle today, but yeah, it was good. My voice is a little bit like this because I tend to get quite involved. I'm a big football guy, and yeah, it was nice to actually enjoy. It was probably the first game I think we all enjoyed for the guys that get together, and yeah, roll on Sunday. Could be
Where are you watching on Sunday? Are you going to like a pub or are you doing local?
yeah. Yeah, I'm
Pub?
as stereotypical Brit as you can find. Probably it will definitely be pub with a few of the Mcade team plus some other friends, and yeah, yeah.
I'm
Fingers
so
crossed for
jealous because
Sunday.
the electricity, there's nothing like a Euro Cup final, any of these big cup tournaments, the finals, and to be there, your home team in a pub is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm already getting trolled. You see, Joss is calling me a Spurs supporter. Mr. Ridiculous would unload his bags if he cared about football. So you can see what I have to deal with every day.
It's going to be a good game. Good luck to England. I'll root for England just to support you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're going to need it, I think.
It'll be a good game. I want to thank everyone for coming through in the chat, everyone for reaching out with questions. It was a good chat. Hopefully we'll do it again at some point in the future, and I'm looking forward to getting this market to run. Any last words?
No, thank you very much. And I think people think we've known each other for years or something, but we've all kind of ended up just circling each other, yourself, me, Ron, and a few of the others. And I do really value this relationship because we've all supported each other. It's a great chat always when I come on, and I need to see more wrestling updates from you, like going to see some of the heroes that we followed over here as well. So yeah, I'm expecting more updates from get-togethers and things, but no, just like always, thanks for the patience and understanding that we're building something pretty sizable. And as you pointed out on your video the other day, which I watched, it's about getting market validation, which we're yet to get, which is exciting for us. So I hope we get it in abundance, and everyone can look back at this experience and say, yeah, it was right to back these guys. So we shall see, won't we?
100%. I'm really excited for it. Looking forward. And thanks again, brother. I'm going to end
Cool.
this
No
stream.
worries. Talk to you soon.